Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin, and today we're unboxing the OnePlus Nord N10 5G. So, it's not the most exciting phone in the world, and that's pretty obvious, right? I mean, OnePlus is an exciting company. They have been since the day they started, right? But I think they're actually working on not being as exciting anymore. And so we kind of have to look at the background a little bit, right? OnePlus started, I think it was 2014, the OnePlus One came out. And man, that was exciting. You needed an invitation to buy it, and if you'd get an invitation, you could like hang out in their forums or something and wait for someone to be giving one away, or they'd give one away, they'd have a contest, whatever. And then once you got your invitation, you'd buy it, and once you bought it, you got 3 invitations that you could give to your friends. And it was a cool way of making people work to get a phone. And they formed a community that way. Because remember, you had to go into the forums. You had to hang out in the forums. You kind of had to work to get the phone. And then by the time you got the phone, you loved the phone before you even opened the box. Anyway, it was a cool phone though. Snapdragon 801 processor. It had removable backs. Removable backs were awesome. But they also, that's where they had the sandstone black back, but they also I had the bamboo one, which was awesome. It was rare, but it's so nice, and like they don't do that anymore. But anyway, it had premium specs for $350, unheard of at the time, right? Back then, a flagship phone would cost between $650 and $700. By the way, $350 was for a 64 gigabyte model too, and back then, 2014-ish, that was a lot of storage for a phone. They had a $299 16 gigabyte model. I'm not even sure if that even shipped. I don't know anybody that got one. But anyway, that was the OnePlus One, and eventually the prices started to go up little by little. And they also, they had no marketing back then. They had no customer service. I had a defective unit, and I went for months battling with their customer service, and they finally sent me a new unit when I published all the transcripts of my dealings with them online. And they're like, okay, we'll send you one, But anyway, the phones were never, the phones had premium specs, but they were never the best phones. And I think around the OnePlus 7 Pros, when they actually started putting out some of the best phones out there. And then the prices became, the prices matched up with some of the best phones out there, right? Because you can't actually sell a flagship phone for half the price of your competitors, because there's a reason that your competitors charge the prices they do. And so now you have carrier deals, you have marketing, you have a full staff, you have a PR company, and now all those bills are taken into account. Now they're starting to reach into lower end devices where they announced the Nord a few months ago. I don't know, early 2020. And that's got a Snapdragon 765 processor. It's the first OnePlus smartphone that didn't have a Snapdragon 8 series processor, ever. And the Nord did not come to the US. They did say a Nord is coming to the US, and now they've introduced the Nord N10 5G and the N100. So this has a Snapdragon 690, and the N100 is a Snapdragon 4 series processor. So they went from flagship killer to being more just the well-rounded smartphone manufacturer that we see from anybody, right? We're just seeing a more well-rounded lineup. So this is very much a mid-range phone, something that we've never seen from OnePlus before. Okay, so let's see what we've got in the box. This little paperwork and quick start guide, safety information. It's interesting because this doesn't come with a lot of stuff that I've seen from premium. Like it used to. A lot of phones I've seen have come from like a letter from Pete Lau, the CEO. And, thank you for being part of us on this journey. Thank you for being part of our amazing community. This seems to be very much just a smartphone, right? The color is Midnight Ice, which I believe is the only color that this comes in. And it's pretty. I'm not sure if it's the color of Ice at Midnight. That's something you could actually test, though. You ever get an air freshener that says, like, Hawaiian Breeze or something? You're like, I doubt this is what a breeze smells like in Hawaii. But you could actually check what ice looks like at midnight, so you're in good shape there. Anyway. Oh, that's an interesting looking European charger that they sent me. But they did send me a European charger because this is a European model. The North American model is coming later. And then we've got a Type A to Type C cable, typical OnePlus red, which is nice and all that. And that's what's in the box. Now, they did send me a separate charging brick. It's Warp Charge 30T. And that's, by the way, that's one of the things about this device. There's a lot of stuff that's like decidedly last gen. Something that we've seen before where like I said, Warp Charge 30T, where we have the OnePlus 8T that's actually got Warp Charge 65. So Warp Charge 30T is what they were using earlier this year on the OnePlus 8 Pro and the OnePlus 8. Alright, so this should be finishing up. So like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of last gen about this. We do have a fingerprint sensor on the back. Notice it does, by the way, pick up a lot of fingerprints on its own. It's very glossy black. The camera module, the camera housing is all just the rectangle with rounded corners, as we've seen from the OnePlus 8T. And of course, devices from, Apple, Samsung, Huawei, Google, everybody. There's nothing original about that. This is still going. It's got a 90 hertz screen, whereas the 8T was recently moved to 120 hertz. So, let's go with the recommended. By the way, yeah, that's another thing that I'm going to have to do a tutorial. Yep, we got to do a tutorial. We've been using gestures for about 3 Android versions now. But we do still have to do a tutorial anytime that we set up a new device. Anyway, yeah, 90 hertz screen, but this is actually an LCD instead of an OLED screen like we've seen from other high refresh rate devices. That's why you've got the bigger chin at the bottom. That's why you've got the bigger hole punch cutout for the front-facing camera. Yeah, so no in-display fingerprint sensor either. So like there are some sacrifice here, but this thing is under $400 and you get 5G. Actually, US pricing hasn't been announced, but it should be under $400. Now we've also got a headphone jack on the bottom. So that's always nice. We don't that's not something that's, they took that away from us. I believe that was with the OnePlus 7 series, so there's no headphone jack anymore. If we go to About here, we will see that we do not have. We have Oxygen OS 10.5, Android 10. I don't know why there's no Android 11, because remember, this is shipping after the OnePlus 8T, which one of the features of the OnePlus 8T was Oxygen OS 11. Of course, though, one of the features of Oxygen OS 11 is the always-on display. And so that means you don't get an always-on display here. But the question is, do you want it? Because it is an LCD. An LCD, with an OLED screen, pixels can be turned off, so you actually get true blacks. It's completely black like so. And that's why always-on displays are quite nice on OLED screens, because you could show the time and you can't tell that with an LCD, the whole thing is backlit. That's why, like, when you turn your TV, gotta do that. Yeah, but when your TV is showing all black, you can still tell that it's on because the whole thing is backlit. So always-on displays tend to have that look on LCDs, although there are different things you could do. You could dim it down. You can like I've seen it work with good LCDs. I've seen it be really bad with bad LCDs as well. So we'll see if they plan on adding the feature whenever this gets Oxygen OS 11. I don't know why it doesn't have Oxygen OS 11, but whatever. Android 10. So we can also look at the back here. This camera, you notice 4 camera lenses, which is probably one of the worst parts of this device because it's very misleading. I couldn't look at those fingerprints anymore. It's very misleading because companies love to say how many camera lenses they have, and that's a big selling point. We have four camera lenses. Well, guess what? We have a 64 megapixel main sensor with an f1.79 aperture and electronic image stabilization. So there's no OIS, no surprise there. Got an 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor, which is great also. By the way, the main sensor, don't expect it to do anything amazing. OnePlus is not known for their cameras, especially in their lower end models. And then the other two sensors. We've got a 2 megapixel macro sensor and a 2 megapixel monochrome sensor. What will you use either of those for? No one knows. And here's the thing, but what will OnePlus use them for? Well, they get to use them to say they have 4 camera sensors. And that's becoming a big thing where like you get these 2 megapixel depth sensors. Like, do you want to take a 2 megapixel macro photo? I don't think you do. Do you want to take a 2 megapixel monochrome photo? I don't think you do. You can take a 64 megapixel it's quad pixel binning, so it's really you could take a 16 megapixel photo and just put a monochrome filter on it. It's going to come out way better than anything a 2 megapixel photo could do. 2 megapixels is basically full HD, so I don't like those sensors really, like, the OnePlus AT had them. I'm not sure which one of these is. It's the two bottom ones, but I'm not sure which one is monochrome, which one's macro. The OnePlus AT had a monochrome sensor, and no one could say why the thing exists. No one knows. So yeah, that's basically all we've got here. That's the OnePlus Nord N10. By the way, I'm bashing the 2 extra sensors. Just because like no company wants to say that they have a dual camera anymore, and I don't get it, but quad camera shouldn't be a selling point on this phone. There are other selling points here. Like, for instance, it's a very pretty design. It's 5G at a very low price point, which is cool. I think that part of the struggle of this device, just from like the optics of how I see it, is that I do remember a time when OnePlus would sell something at this price with flagship specs. And they did that, like I remember the whole story of OnePlus in the beginning where they launched this phone with like a $300 marketing budget, or probably even lower than that. It was crazy, and all those savings went on to the customer. And there was some bad in that too, Like, I don't mind that they've grown up. I don't mind that they're actually making the best phones. Like the OnePlus 8 Pro is probably my favorite phone on the market, So I don't mind so much, but it's just like seeing this and it's like, okay, cool, it's a 5G phone at that's gonna cost probably about the same as the OnePlus One did, and the quad camera thing is a little offensive. But the phone is good. OnePlus provides a solid software experience. It does have a 90 hertz screen. It does have a 64 megapixel main camera. And it's going to be cool because there is no other way to get that OnePlus experience at that price in 2020. So I'm going to play with this for a couple weeks. So stay tuned. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.